Mortal Kombat 1 is officially a year old today. This was an amazing aspect to it when it first got announced, of course. When we first heard that this game was coming around, we all thought more of like a remaster, because I know a lot of us are fiending for a Mortal Kombat collection or an MK remaster to some extent, preferably MK9. I know that Capcom has been killing it. You know, of course, they have the Marvel vs. Capcom collection that is out now, which is incredible, by the way. Then they got the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, and they just have a lot of content coming around. They just released a Terry character guide. So when Mortal Kombat announced itself as MK1, I felt, for me, I didn't think it was going to be initially just a reboot or just a continuation from MK11. I had been out of a lot of the fighting game scene at that point. I wasn't also streaming that much. So when this game got announced last year, I remember I was so hyped for this game, man. Like, totally hyped. I could not believe I thought we were going to get like a lot of classics. I loved Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, still one of the greatest fighting games of all time to this day. And it was just insane when this game came out. Now, make no mistakes, when it launched, there was a lot of cool stuff. I don't think they had a lot of cool aesthetics. It was something with the palettes that we didn't really acknowledge as much, because what happened to me was in reversal, right? We didn't like the MK11 gameplay, which might be a hot take to some, but I think the majority of people don't like MK11, at least gameplay-wise. I feel inconclusiveness with MK11. They did have a lot of great content. So I felt that 11 had great content till this day. They still have better content than MK1. And then I felt that MK1 has the better gameplay, though. So when MK1 launched, obviously honeymoon phase last year, it was cool. I was one of those guys. I pre-ordered. I did everything. And we got the combat pack. We're checking it out. We didn't know it was actually going to be drip fed also, but it made more sense for that. But I was just naive at that point. And the first thing I noticed was just like the aesthetics. I noticed it seemed, I wouldn't say lazy, but I know the honeymoon phase was fun. The cameo system's brand new. It was the closest things we had since like the tag aspect in MK9. The gameplay was better, right, in terms of juggles and just air combos again, because we know MK11 didn't have that stuff. And so at least we appreciated that a lot more. The gameplay was sped up a little bit more. Not necessarily MK9 fast, but a little bit faster than MK11. But then the cameo system also helps with fluidity a little bit more to an extent. Now, one thing what happened early on with MK1, in my opinion, was that MK1 launched, it had its honeymoon phase. They did 10,000 IQ, right? Let's talk about the good things. 10,000 IQ that they literally brought the 3D era characters back. They gave Reptile a massive arc. They gave Baraka a massive arc. And just other characters that, it looks like Noob's also getting an arc in this expansion too pretty soon, but we're just kind of just covering year one right now. But it looks like the character arcs for certain characters, Melina even, are pretty cool. I felt Kitana could have gotten more, but I think everybody's just used to Kitana being Kitana already. So it was cool to see Melina's aspect of things also. And there was just a lot of things that the story-driven aspect of this is pretty good. Aside from some of the ending conclusions, in my opinion, with the whole Armageddon remaster again, they did really good with that. The story, and then also the 3D arrow. That was really cool to see those characters. Like Astra's character arc also was really dope. Li Mei's is cool, right? There's a lot of things Li Mei, you know, kind of lives with now. And so I really appreciated that. So that was 10,000 IQ. But other than that, I felt like a lot of the other things were pretty lazy, at least at launch. The gameplay was fun. Like what I said, we're all figured it out the first few months. There was like an in-between interim like type intermission aspect of the game, though, like after that honeymoon phase where it was just gone. That's where all the casuals completely left. I just felt like there wasn't enough of the MK1 that we were looking for. When we hear the term MK1, we're definitely thinking of like at least bring back some of the classics. Now, here's what they're doing right now. They're doing it in year 2, right? Or at least close to year 2. We got the Ultimate MK3 skins now. Like Scorpion finally feels more like Scorpion when you play him a little bit more now. There's a lot of characters now that feel a lot better. You know, after Chameleon dropped, you know, cameo systems got a little bit faster at this point. But it was something that the characters didn't really feel like the characters after a while. A lot of it felt sluggish. There's a lot of bugs. There's online things going on. And so there's a lot of aspects to the game where we were just not enjoying, even myself, because I'm an MK diehard fan. And, you know, I was at Elder God for a few seasons. And then, like, I don't know, I just got bored of doing that over and over. I don't know why. I feel like I got tired of doing it every season. Invasions, to me, is possibly one of the worst ideas that Mortal Kombat could ever do for a casual. Bring back the crypt, please. So I wasn't really a huge fan of that also. So I know the invasions mode was terrible. I only played the first season, haven't touched it since. And there's a lot of other characters too that I feel like should be better. It was real top heavy, with characters, and I feel that I wish Mortal Kombat 1 should have at least like made a lot more characters broken so that it makes the game more exciting in terms of rotations, similar to what like Tekken 8 does right now. They have a lot of characters that can be potentially like top characters immediately, like depending on who's playing them, depending on when you're playing them, like the scenario. Online too, you can see a little bit more of a variety versus like MK, which is top heavy. And then also, of course, like some cameos are a lot heftier than others that are being utilized way more, especially when they're broken. So in terms of consistency of that too, it's kind of tough with MK1 on that essence. But there's another thing that MK1 also did. One, they didn't give us all the classic stuff, like, so it didn't really feel like MK1. It just felt like MK12, basically. It had the 11 story continuation at the end, spoiler alert. And then you have like all these multiverses stuff, all the timeline stuff. And then you have like a lot of lore that really just completely ties into it. So it's literally MK12 at that point. The only reason why it started going towards MK1 now is now they're doing the structuring of a lot of classics coming back and stuff like that. And then they also had like a 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing. That's a huge topic I kind of want to touch into also. There's another bad thing that they did. So they kind of had like an identity crisis for a while. Aside from all the bugs, tons of desync issues and everything like that. So that scared away a lot of casuals. I think a lot of the things that casuals really related to when it came to Mortal Kombat were just not there. As I mentioned earlier, right? Like skins and just anything like music, maybe gave us a jukebox. Like Tekken and Street Fighter gave us jukeboxes. I wish Mortal Kombat would have done that at least year one. These are to try to keep casuals around, because at the end of the day, like, it's all about trying. The casuals are gonna make the money, and that's what's always made Mortal Kombat money. If you want competitive, you play Street Fighter, of course, and Tekken, either or, vice versa, however you want. But you play those games, and Fatal Fury coming up soon. Those are games where if you want to play like some real deal competitive gaming, you jump into those. Like MK was never really that high, although they did build a competitive scene, of course. I mean, there's some amazing pro players. It never really was like that. It's a party style game, and it's a game that's not taken as serious by other competitors. So in a competitive notion, it's like they had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and they became this huge like identity crisis where they kind of wanted to take their gameplay a little bit more tactical, kind of like the way Call of Duty did with like Modern Warfare 2 2022. Where it's like Mortal Kombat, this game coming around, it's like they wanted to be tactical, but also be like somewhat fluid, and it just wasn't meshing right. So they did exactly the route that Call of Duty was doing, where it's like we want to help casuals, but we also want to help competitive on the same level. And it's like you can't never do that on the same level. You're only going to help one or the other at the highest rate. You know what I mean? If you want to completely like get casual friendly, then you're not really going to adhere to the top 3% of the best players in the world. You know what I mean? So they had to make a choice, and I think they tried doing both, and they just kind of flopped on it. So MK1 reminds me a lot of like how Street Fighter 5 was, also how like Modern Warfare 2 2022 was. These are games that try to adhere too much to a casual side and a superiorly competitive side, and that never works, because now your audiences are being shifted, and casuals are always barking at the competitive side. Competitive sides are always barking at like casual things that can happen that really adhere, right? Like skill-based matchmaking, all that stuff. And so there's a huge identity crisis in that, and I feel that they're still trying to overcome that and try to get back to a casual side as they sped up gameplay. They added more moves in recent times, in which they're actually saying that they're gonna add more to that stuff, more gameplay, more stuff like that to help. I guess the fluidity of the game is what I'm trying to really touch base on right now. I've said that a few times already, because Mortal Kombat 1, if they would have went more of a fluid route, right? Not as fast as MKX, I guess. I mean, I know that's a lot to ask for. MKX was both a casual and competitive, but mostly favored by competitive people, because obviously MKX is going to be the greatest Mortal Kombat competitively. There's so many great moments on that. But MK9 was something for the casuals that the casuals really loved. When it came to the colors and the skins, the aesthetics, the looks, the stages, the callbacks, everything that you could potentially name, especially after a horrendous 3D era for the most part. There were some pretty solid ones there, but it didn't do half as amazing as like what we really wanted it to be. Now, Deadly Alliance was fire. Deception was fire for sure. And then you get that Armageddon MKDC. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, on paper, I guess, but we already know how people felt about those at that point. And then the bankruptcy happened with Midway. So then MK9 really like ramped it up. So MK9, love letter to casuals. MKX was like, all right, we gave back to the casuals. Let's help out now and build this competitive scene. I think they did really great with that. So 2 games back to back where they executed at the highest level. One being casual friendly and one being massively for the competitive scene for sure. That's MK9, MKX, in which we're dying for MK9 remaster because it's completely delisted to this day thanks to the whole Freddy Krueger aspect. But yeah, so as I talk about those 2 is what I'm saying. Now we had MK9, MKX, which was casual, love letter, the comeback of the year of any game. And then you had MKX, the best competitive Mortal Kombat game ever to this day. And then you have now after, you have 11 and 1, which are games that 11, I don't know what happened. Yeah, I think they tried a whole new step for it to get competitive again, get a little bit more tactical. MK1, they're continuously, which in my opinion is still MK12. And it's just not working for some reason, at least on a casual standpoint. And the numbers show, as much as anybody wants to argue, the numbers are showing that casuals are not liking this game. It is unheard of for MK1. I'm not expecting it to have massive Evo numbers and competitively, but it was really low this time around, and it was only their first go around at Evo, and it was already low, like it was at like its 3rd go around. So that's already one thing. That's on the competitive side. Then casuals, like the viewership is very, very low all across the board now, at least with YouTube, at least to Mortal Kombat standards. There's still solid viewership. There's still a lot of people playing it. Of course, you know how many copies they sold of games, but I'm talking more in MK standards because we all know MK has a crazy fan base, including myself, where we really love the game, but we really criticize the shit out of the game because we really love it and we know what the best of the best of Mortal Kombat is, especially if you're born in my era and you know exactly what I'm talking about from arcade era onward through like the beginning of consoles till now. You've seen the best of the best, you've seen the lowest of the lows, and then you've seen it kind of come back. But all in all, regardless, like MK1 a year later, it's still in a very solid shape. And it's still a top 5 Mortal Kombat game, which is insane to say. I know people are probably going to flame me for that, but I'm trying to think right now. I'm looking at like Ultimate MK3, MK9, MKX, maybe Shaolin Monks, and possibly MK1. And still, it's only in its year 2, going into year 2. And we haven't even got the DLC expansion yet and all that stuff. So I feel that despite everything, it's still a top 5 game. I wouldn't put Mortal Kombat 4 over it. I wouldn't put Deadly Alliance over MK1. I wouldn't put, I mean, Deception's a really great one. And if you want to take out Shaolin Monks, because that's just my personal, one of the greatest spinoffs of all time, then maybe you could put like Deception up there. But I feel that MK1 is still a top 5 Mortal Kombat game of all time, even at this moment in its state, which is crazy. Can you imagine if they actually start executing on more things? There's something that they're holding back on in their mentality as to why they don't want to just unleash this game. It feels like they're drip feeding content already this whole time. Now they're starting to do better with content, though. The content's a lot more quality in my opinion. But it seems like there's something they're still holding back on that they're kind of drip feeding on in terms of gameplay or just letting it fly like they usually do. And I don't know, that's something maybe with the suits and ties over at Warner Brothers or whatever it may be, but I am excited. A year later, I could say that started off hot, got real dull. It's starting to go up again, but is it too little too late? I wouldn't say that necessarily. I just don't know what can really bring back casuals. Could it be noob? Could it be like faster gameplay? Could it be just favoring casuals in totality? Whether how you like make the characters, whether it's cheap or broken. Is it fixing the online system? Is it changing a ranking aspect? Is it adding additional modes? Much more. I know they're bringing back animalities. Like, are you bringing much more features? I don't know what brings back casuals. I think year 1 had its chance to try to, which all the things they're bringing now, they should have done year 1. And year 2, they could have just supplemented onto it. Like maybe year 2, bring back the crypt and all these other game modes, like test your luck and all that. And then had a way better mode than invasions. Because at the end of the day, casuals don't just play online. They just want to play against each other. They want to have fun. Maybe they're... Oh, the King of the Hill wasn't even there in year 1. At least for the most part, like for a certain extent. So like, hopefully there's just way more shit that we can really enjoy. But I do enjoy it. I still call Mortal Kombat 1 a top 5 Mortal Kombat game of all time still, even in its bad phase. Y'all got to let me know what's up now, man. What do y'all think about the MK1? It's a year old. I still remember when this game launched, man, and I hope that we continuously get content, and I hope they just unleash everything that we love about MK, man. Y'all let me know y'all's opinions, man. I appreciate y'all. Peace.